Hey, welcome everyone. This is Mike from ZoZoStockWatch.com, and this is going to be your Let's Get Ready for the week ahead, January 14th through January 18th. Markets gained ground for the week that passed. Good start for the new year as we gained across the board. Wasn't focused on any one particular area. We have recovered about 11% off the lows from December. So a good start for the bulls and a good continuation week for the bulls this past week. Let's go ahead and look at some of the action that happened on Friday. It was kind of a quiet session Friday, a mixed bag there for the markets on Friday. We had the Dow Jones was down about 7 points. The S&P was down flat for the day. It was a quiet, lower trading day. There's still concerns out there for the government shutdown and the U.S.-China trade. The Nasdaq was down about 15 points. As you can see here, kind of a mixed bag in the markets. We had Amazon down about 1%. Google was down over 1%. Facebook basically flat for the day. Microsoft was down about 0.75%. Some of the banks got some selling in them. But overall, a mixed bag for the markets on Friday. Like I said, it was a pretty quiet session, although there were some very good trades and bounces as we did get some dip buyers showing up at the proper points on Friday. So for Friday, we had the CPI come out, and it was below the numbers, and that was based on lower gas prices that helped the CPI. So inflation is not out there right now, and that keeps the Fed at in check. About 800,000 people did not get paychecks because of the government shutdown. So that is becoming a worry for the economy. Um, We'll go ahead and take a look at some of our top sectors for the week that passed. We had the marijuana cannabis sector for the week up almost 14% for the week. The oil services sector was up almost 8%. Oil, light sweet crude oil was up almost 8% for the week. We had the USO, which is the ETF for light sweet crude oil, was up about 7% for the week. The IBB had a very good week, up about 6%. Now we have some takeovers going on there, so that's really lighting the biotechs on fire. I believe they had their best start to the year in about 7 or 8 years. The SMH had a very good week. We're up almost 6% on the SMH, and as you can see, a lot of things were up 3 and 4% for the week that passed. The Qs and the Nasdaq were up. The Nasdaq for the week was up about 3.5% for the week. To the downside, we had the VIX losing some more steam this week that passed, down about 15% as fear left the market. Gold was down about Nugget here, down about 3% for the week. JNUG, the junior gold miners, was down about 5% for the week. Silver was down fractionally. Gold was up fractionally for the week. The Dow Jones itself was up about 2%, 2.5% for the week. The S&P 500 was up about 2.5% for the week that passed. So let's go ahead and look at some of the markets. This is from FinViz, and what you do is you type in a bunch of symbols up here in the screener, and then you can see the daily charts on a lot of different sectors. So I wanted to do this for speed. So as you can see, the IBB had a very nice bounce off the lows here. The diamonds, which are representative of the Dow Jones, a nice bottom here, as you can see, and we are coming up to resistance spots here on the diamonds, coming up to resistance areas on the IBB. Let's go ahead and look at the IWM with a beautiful bounce here, but now we're going to see what we're going to do as we come up to this resistance spot. I'll show you this all on bigger charts also. Here's the the ETF for cannabis, a nice bounce, coming into some resistance here on that. The OIH, a nice bounce coming up into the 50 SMA. So we do have declining 50, 200 SMAs on a lot of charts. The SMH coming up to resistance area. And as you can see, the SPY also coming up to that resistance spot on the SPY. As you can see with the S&P 500, the sectors there, we've had nice bounces in the various sectors, the biotech, the home builder sector, also the select sector for materials. The bank sector has got a good bounce off the lows. So they're all pretty much the same, bouncing up into moving averages. So this was the quickest way to show you that. And here's a visual view so you can see the sectors and what sectors will move here. So as you can see, biotechs are off to the best start of the year since 2012 on the heels of the JP Morgan health conference that passed this week. A lot of stocks had really nice moves. I'll show you that in some of the best stocks for the week. We do have the government shutdown that's hanging over our heads for the weeks ahead. We have the Fed Chair Powell. He was at the Economic Club of Washington, D.C. on Friday. So that helped to stabilize the markets Friday. Comments coming from him. Fed Powell frets over stocks more than you think. That coming from John Crudell of the New York Post, an article coming out. So folks are watching the Fed chairman. And basically on the last video, we talked about how the Fed capitulated. And so there are some articles out there saying just that. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of the main charts now. We'll go ahead and look at the SPY. As you can see, we've had a nice bounce here from this green line. Now that green line is right from the weekly chart, the 200 SMA off the weekly chart, and that's exactly where we bounced off of. And we've had a nice climb, but now we are coming up to resistance levels here of about 260 to 263 area on the SPY. So we're going to see how the market reacts here as folks, when the market started to have this breakdown here, you would imagine that we have supply up here, and folks that have been hurt and living through all this sell-off, if they bought at this 263, 260 area on the SPY, will try to make themselves whole. So we're going to see what the reaction is as we get closer to that 260, 263 area. And we also have a declining 50 SMA and a sloping 200 SMA and 100 SMA here on the SPY daily chart. We've also gotten a nice bounce in the markets because oil has recovered. We are coming back up, though, on the USO, as you can see here on this daily chart. Here's the 50 SMA. We are coming up to a declining 50 SMA on oil. We'll go ahead and look at the light sweet crude oil. That'll show it for you clearly too. Here is the 50 SMA, the dark blue line here. So oil was a big part of the S&P moving up as oil stocks did recover. So now we're going to see what the reaction is here now. At this 50 SMA on light sweet crude oil. Also, let's see if we can hold the 5 EMA, the yellow dotted line you see here, dashed line, and also if we can hold this area of $50 per barrel on light sweet crude oil. Also for the retail sector, we had a bounce back up to the 50 SMA, so we're going to see how that reacts again if it tests the 50 SMA. We had the XLY coming up to the 50 SMA and is above the 50 SMA consumer discretion ETF. So this one is holding above the 50 SMA on the XLY. For the NASDAQ itself, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Folks are watching that 50 SMA and that 7,000 area. All right, so a lot of technical analysts are looking at this, how we're going to react here, and that 7,000 area is very important for the NASDAQ. We'll also check out the Qs. A lot of folks trade the Qs. So we remain below the 50 SMA, which is currently at 162.34. So we'll call it 162.50. for the Qs. So let's see if we can penetrate that to the upside, or if that's going to be acting as resistance. As you can see here down below, the RSI is holding above the 50 spot on the RSI for now, but we are curling back over. So we'll see if that's going to continue to show strength and push us higher on the Qs. So let's go ahead and look at this nice calendar here from the Trade Exchange, economic calendar, courtesy of the Trade Exchange. As you can see, companies will be reporting this week. If you click on the green, you do get a drop-down menu, and that gives you the earnings that are coming out each and every day. And this is courtesy of the Trade Exchange Twitter feed, and you can have access to this calendar from the Trade Exchange. So for economic information coming out for the week ahead on Tuesday, we do get some Fed speak coming out, and then throughout the week we do have some Fed speak coming up. As far as economic information, it's pretty straightforward for this week. Nothing out of the ordinary. We do get the beige book on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. We also get the housing start numbers coming out on Thursday. We get consumer sentiment on Friday. Oil numbers will be coming out at 10:30 on Wednesday for oil. So as you can see from this visual here from Earnings Whisper, courtesy of Earnings Whisper, earnings Monday, we have Citigroup reporting. We also, this month, we have a lot of companies that are going to be reporting, so earnings season will be in full force for the coming weeks. If you want to see the most anticipated earnings releases coming up, this once again courtesy of Earnings Whisper. We have Citigroup on Monday before the bell. JP Morgan will be reporting before the bell on Tuesday. Wells Fargo. We had a lot of banks reporting. Goldman Sachs this week, Bank of America. We get Alcoa will be reporting. BlackRock reporting before the bell on Wednesday. PNC Bank on Wednesday before the open. Thursday, we start getting our first FANG stock reporting. Netflix will be reporting Thursday after the bell on Thursday for Netflix, and then on Friday we get Schlumberger will be reporting in the oil services sector before the bell on Friday. So as you can see, a lot of earnings coming up this week, and as you see, a lot of earnings coming up for the month. If you're interested, Apple will be reporting earnings on the 29th of January. Let's go ahead and get into some of the best stocks for the week. We had Caesars Entertainment have a very nice week, up almost 24%. News came out that Carl Icahn is involved in this name, so Caesars Entertainment, a big jump this week. We had General Motors up for the week that passed. GM had a very good week, up almost 12% for the week. And here's the news on General Motors. Raises its 2018 forecast, predicts stronger 2019 earnings. Also, their Cadillac division is going to be working on an electric vehicle. So General Motors had a very nice week that passed. Also moving up with General Motors was Ford, up 9% for the week. TLRY, which helped propel the MJ, the cannabis ETF. TLRY is a component of the cannabis ETF, had a very nice week, up 37%. Privateer is a company that holds quite a few shares of Tilray. And this company, these folks said that they won't be selling their shares in the first half of 2019. So there was an article also on that in the New York Post. And you can find these out on my public Twitter feed at ZoZoStockWatch. I put this article out there. Cannabis company soars after Teal-backed fund says it won't sell their shares. So that moving that stock up. And a lot of the other cannabis names moved up for the week that passed. You had CGC, nice climb in this name, up 35% for the week. CRON was up 16% for the week. ACB also moving up 22% for the week that passed. We also had APHA, Alfea Also moving up 15% for the week that passed. NBEV also had a nice week. This stock moving up 14% for the week. Twitter got upgraded at BAFA, Bank America. Merrill Lynch. So Twitter was up 10% for the week. SAEX with oil moving up this week. You see these little oil, no-name oil stocks popping. This stock was up 158% for the week on SAEX. We actually traded this one this week, so that one did very well. TTWO had a good week this week, up 7%. EA Electronic Arts also moving up about 7.5% for the week. Amrin on the rumors that Pfizer is interested in this company. Now they're just rumors, so don't hold me to it. But Amrin up 36% for the week. EPZM had a very good week. This stock was up 30% for the week. Roku had a very nice week, up 18% on Roku. LOXO, which was taken out by Eli Lilly. This stock moved up 66% for the week. CMG had a nice week, up 11%. Cake was up 9% for the week. TNDM had a very nice week, up 22%. ACAD climbed 20% for the week. BBBY, their earnings came out. This stock jumped 27% for the week. Square had a very nice week, up 14% for the week. Beazer Homes and Lennar Homes were up nicely for the week that passed. Lennar was up 13% for the week. Cree also popping this week in the semiconductor space. This stock jumped 14.5%. UNP, a railroad, they guided higher, so this stock jumped 11% for the week. Netflix, which has earnings coming up for the week ahead, they got a lot of price target raises and upgrades. Netflix was up 13% for the week. SAGE had a good week. This stock was up 28% for the week. Phase 3 came out and met the primary endpoints on this name. AXSM had Phase 2 treatment that met their primary endpoints for AXSM. So this stock was up 180% for the week. INSM was up 53% for the week. Its recently approved product hit 9.8 million in sales last quarter. So INSM had a very nice week on that news. NKTR, they presented at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. NKTR, so this stock jumped 20% for the week that passed on that presentation that they did at the JP Morgan Health Conference. Some of your worst stocks for the week that passed is Weight Watchers, WTW. They were downgraded by JP Morgan, did a downgrade on this stock. Sales, I guess, are not meeting expectations for the first month of the new year in Weight Watchers. So this stock was down 11% for the week. PCG dropped 28% for the week as they're talking bankruptcy. Macy's earnings came out. A retailer did not meet the expectations. Stock dropped over 13%. Deckers down almost 7% for the week that passed. And LJPC sales of its low blood pressure drug not meeting analyst expectations. So this stock dropped 38% for the week. So that's some of your worst stocks for the week. So some things we'll have to look ahead for the week going forward is that earnings season starts off in full force. As far as some of the economic data, we do get the PPI data coming out on Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so that'll be closely watched. We have Fed speeches, Fed speakers coming up for the week ahead. One thing that I neglected to mention was that we do get the Brexit vote. Investors will be watching for the Prime Minister May. They are expected to leave the EU on March 29th. So that's something that's still out there on our plate. China trade will also still be on our plate going forward. So a few things to watch for the week ahead and the next few weeks as earnings season kicks off. And we do have some of those things that are still lingering. The government shutdown is still overhanging the market. It doesn't look like they're close there, as Donald Trump has been tweeting out over the weekend that the Democrats need to step up, and so that bad blood continues on in Washington. So overall, though, the markets had a chance to roll over, but held up. Dip buyers showed up, but now with earnings season beginning, let's see if the volume increases, and let's see if there's no heavy selling. Now, for the SPY and the markets, we are still in a downtrend. We've gotten a nice bounce in a downtrend market. Let's see if they can fully recover and get up through a bunch of these resistance spots on the markets. All right. So this is Mike from ZoZoStockWatch.com. This has been your Let's Get Ready for the week ahead. I hope you're more ready for the week ahead than you were before, and we'll be back with another video later on today. Stocks on watch.